Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Ursartic deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play to synchro summon into some crazy powerful boss monsters. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ultimate Bright Knight Ursartic Alpha. This card is an amazing 3-of extender in the deck, because it has a really cool ability that cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by card effect, and if you control an Ursartic or a Drytron monster, except another copy of this card, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add an Ursartic or a Drytron spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is an amazing effect to be able to search out a bunch of really powerful cards from your deck to your hand on this card's ability. Plus, this card is always treated as an Ursartic and a Drytron card, making it super easy to get to this card. This card is an amazing 3-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of McPolar. McPolar is an amazing card in this deck because this card is a searcher, but all of your Ursartic monsters actually share a common effect that during the main phase, quick effect, you contribute one other level 7 or higher monster from your hand to special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except monsters with levels, which is not that big of a deal because that's all we're usually summoning anyways is synchro monsters, so it's very easy to play around that. But this card has a really unique ability. If this card is special summoned, you can add an Ursartic monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a great effect. We then play 3 copies of Mictanus. Mictanus is also a pretty good 3-of in the deck that has the ability, if this card is special summoned, you can target an Ursartic monster in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and add it back to your hand, which I really love that ability about this card because it basically summons itself for free because you just tribute an Ursartic monster to summon this card out and then add that card back to hand, which is a great ability for this card to have. We then play a single copy of McBealus. McBealus is really good as a 1-of in the deck, but I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card. Is if you special summon this card, you can actually special summon an Ursartic monster from your hand, except another copy of this card, but I feel like 1 is totally fine for this build. Then getting into the tuner monsters, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Megatanus. Megatanus is an amazing card in this deck. This card is a really good effect that is basically a walking Book of Moon, which is just absolutely crazy. This card is a definite 3-of in the deck, and it's just so powerful in this particular build because it is a walking Book of Moon. We then play just 2 copies of Megabealus. Megabealus is just a good 2-of in this deck because it has a great ability. If this card is special summoned while you control another Ursartic monster, you can target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it, which is a great effect to just deal with cards in your opponent's graveyard. Plus, this card comes out at 2,800 attack points. We then play 2 copies of Megapolar. Megapolar is a good 2-of as well in the deck because it has a great effect that if this card is special summoned while you control another Ursartic monster, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a great effect for this card to have just to be able to pop spells and traps on the field. We then play 3 copies of Righty Driver. Righty Driver is insane in this deck, and 2 copies of Lefty Driver. These cards are just absolutely nuts in the deck, because if you have the ability of your Righty Driver to be able to special summon out your copy of Lefty Driver, which is just so good in this particular build, because the way you synchro summon in this particular deck is actually synchro summoning with the difference in the levels besides adding them together using subtraction instead of addition, which is really cool. For example, if you have a level 1 and a level 2, then you'll synchro summon into a level 1 because you synchro summon into the difference in the level, essentially synchro summoning like the dark synchro monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, which is kind of cool about this deck, and I love that about these cards, that it makes it so easy to synchro summon and how you can actually synchro summon into level 1 monsters, but it doesn't even count as like a synchro summon, it's just a special summon from the extra deck, which is so weird but so cool. And that's why you play the copies of the Lefty Right Driver, because these have different levels, and your copy of Righty Driver summons Lefty Driver from the deck, which is just such a cool effect about these cards. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the hand traps we're playing in this deck. So for the hand traps, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is a definite 3F in this build because it is a level 7 or higher monster, so you can tribute it if you have multiple copies of this card in your hand to be able to summon out your copies of your Ursartic monsters. But this card is great at just stunning the opponent while also dealing with your opponent's side of the field, which is just really good to be able to do. And this card is an amazing 3F in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's crazy powerful in this deck to just stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it's a fantastic card in this build. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is also really good in this deck because this card is also a tuner, which can help you synchro summon into some really cool cards, but it also stops your opponent from using monster effects, which is just really, really good. This card is a definite 3 of the build, and I feel like with these 9 hand traps, you can really stop your opponent, especially with the benefit of Nibiru being able to be tributed for your Ursartic summons is just really, really good. I absolutely love this lineup for the deck. So that's it for the monsters and the hand traps, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Ursartic Slider. This card is good as a 1-of in deck, so you can now search it off your copy of your new Bright Knight. But this card is great because it lets you target one of your Ursartic monsters that's banished or in your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot attack, also destroyed during the end phase. And for the rest of the turn, after this effect resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except monsters with levels, which again is not that big of a deal because that's all we're summoning anyways. We then play 2 copies of Big Dipper. You can cut this card down to 1, but I still really like 2, just in case the first one does get destroyed. But it's a great card because once per turn, if your Ursartic monster would tribute a monsters to activate its effect, you can banish a level 7 or higher Ursartic monster from your grave instead, making it even easier to summon out your Ursartic monsters. And each time a monster is special summoned, you place a counter on this card, and once per turn, if a monster is special summoned and an Ursartic synchro monster is on the field, you can actually remove all counters from this card, minimum 7, and then target one monster opponent control and take control of it, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Ursartic Radiation. This card is a draw 7. I know, in Yu-Gi-Oh! I said it. This card is a draw 7 in a turn, which is crazy. It has the ability to activate this card by placing 7 counters on it. And each time an Ursartic monster is special summoned from your hand or extra deck, you remove a counter from this card and draw a card, which is super easy to be able to just dig into the deck and draw 7 in a turn because your Ursartic monsters are just going to keep tributing and special summoning and synchro summoning, which is just really cool. I love that about this card. It also has the ability once per turn. During the end phase, you can target an Ursartic card in your graveyard, except under the copy of this card, and shuffle it back in the deck to recycle your resources. This card is a definite 3 of the deck and a card you want to start with in your hand or your copy of Bright Knight to be able to search it so that you can start digging into the deck and just make some really crazy fields. We then play 3 copies of Ursartic Departure. Departure is really good as a 3F in the deck because this card is the Searcher. It lets you discard a card to add 2 Ursartic monsters from your deck to your hand, and if you attribute a monster to activate an Ursartic monster's effect, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the grave instead, which is great that this card has 2 uses, which is just really, really good. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with 2 copies of Polar Star. Polar Star is a really cool synchro monster. This card helps you get your other synchro monsters out on your side of the field. It cannot be synchro summoned, and it must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending 2 monsters that you control with a level difference of 1 to the graveyard. 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner, which is how you synchro summon into all of your different Ursartic monsters, which is just really cool by having a difference of a level of 1, which is super cool. So for example, if you have a tuner that's a level 8 and you have a regular monster that's a level 7, then the difference in level is 1, so you would synchro summon into this card. And the same example is for your righty-lefty driver. 1 is a 1, 1 is a 2, and then you go into this card because it's just super easy to do. I love that about this card. It has a great ability as well that you can tribute a level 8 Ursartic monster from your hand or your field, and this card special summons a level 7 Ursartic synchro monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if you do, it gains the ability that your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with a level that were special summoned from the extra deck, which is a great ability to basically floodgate your opponent with that monster, and it's crazy powerful on this card. We then play 2 copies of Polaria. Polaria is really good as a 2-of in the deck, and I feel like you only need 2 of it now that we have Polar Star, but this card is really good because if this card is special summon, you can activate the effect that you get to add a copy of Big Dipper directly from your deck, or activate Big Dipper directly from the deck, which is just super cool, and I love that about this card. Also lets you tribute a level 7 or higher monster and add to your hand or special summon an Ursartic monster from your graveyard, which is such a powerful effect, but instantly getting to Big Dipper is why I say you could probably cut Big Dipper down to 1 and play one of the Ursartic trap card if you want to play 1 copy of the trap card. We then play 2 copies of Serpatron. Serpatron is crazy powerful, and a card you're always summoning in this deck. It is a really cool ability that it has the ability that you synchro summon this card the same way by sending 2 monsters that you control with a level difference of 7 to the graveyard, 1 level 8 or higher tuner, and 1 non-tuner synchro monster to the graveyard, which is super easy to do. I love that about this card. It has the ability to negate the effects of face-up monsters with a level that were special summoned from the extra deck, which is super cool to be able to use, to be able to just basically stop your opponent's monsters without levels by putting this card on the field, especially when you combo it with your copy of Polar Star, and it's just so powerful to lock down your opponent, have basically a skill drain on the field. It also has the ability, if your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can add an Ursartic card from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful effect for this card to have. We then play 2 copies of Grand Chariot. Grand Chariot is really good in this deck as a 2-of because this card is just super helpful in this particular deck to be able to summon to your side of the field, because if this card is synchro summon, or this card is special summon, you can actually target up to 2 other cards on the field and destroy them. And once per turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets an Ursartic card you control, quick effect, you can tribute a monster from your hand or field, negate the activation, which is a great ability to use with this card. For the other synchro monsters we're playing in the deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of Psychic-In Punisher. We do play a lot of tuners in the deck, and it's very easy to step into this card because we play a lot of different cards to make it very easy to step into this card. And it's also a really good boss monster that can basically just end games. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is also very easy to put on our side of the field because it's a walking negate. We then play a single copy of the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. This card is very easy to put on the field as well, plus it gets absolutely massive when it's on the field. 1 copy of Shinshin. This card is really good as well because it does have the ability, any card sent from the field to the grave is banished instead. We then play a single copy of the Dragon Mech. Dragon Mech is very good at clearing cards off the field, which is why I play this card in the deck, because once per turn you can banish a tuner from their hand, graveyard, or face up from the field, target a card on the field, and destroy it, which is a great effect for this card to have. Play a single copy of Dragite. Dragite is also very easy to make in this particular build, and I really like this card in the deck because it is a spell trap negate. Well, you have a water in the grave, so it's very easy to do in this deck. And then finally I play a single copy of Metal Marcher. Metal Marcher is great because if this card is synchro summon, you can target any tuner in your grave and special summon it in defense position, which is a great ability for this card to have. Plus, it's pretty easy to go into. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Ursartic before, you should definitely give this deck a try, especially now that we have all the new cards for this deck, because this deck is just super fun to be able to play. To just basically just summon out a bunch of different synchro monsters and control the board, especially with that one-sided skill drain. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.